Good morning, Team FYN sports fans, and welcome to this week's episode of Instant Replay, North Georgia's only live online sports show. I'm your host, Lauren Hunter, here on a beautiful Monday morning as usual. And yes, Georgia sports fans, it has been a tough week in Georgia sports. The Braves fell in the Game 5 of the NLDS, actually got, let's just be honest, got beat pretty bad in Game 5 of the NLDS, and the Bulldogs got flogged by the Gamecocks on Saturday. But with that being said, it is all behind us, and we are all about positivity here at Team FYN Sports, where, as the graphic says there over my shoulder, we are always highlighting and promoting young athletes in a positive way, and there is still plenty of positive high school sports to talk about. So we're going to go ahead and get that started here with White County football. And the Warriors actually had a bye week this week. They were coming off of a loss to Flowery Branch 45-20 last week. But as I discussed in last week's episode of Instant Replay, the White County Warriors are in a very tough region, which is Region 7 4A. And we'll go over who all is in that region here in just a minute. But Flowery Branch is one of the top teams in that region. So this was a tough game for the Warriors either way, but they did put up a good fight against the Falcons and did come out a little bit short, 45-20 last week, and then had this past week to rest up and to get ready for the next game, which they will be hosting West Hall this Friday night. So looking forward to that game. Our sideline reporter for the Warriors, Carson Finley, will be back at it again to bring us game highlights from that game. But talking about the region, like I said, the Warriors are in Region 7 4A, which includes Blessed Trinity at the very top, and Flowery Branch. They are actually tied for first. Then Marist, Denmark, White County, West Hall, and Chestatee. And West Hall and Chestatee are tied for that sixth spot. So just going over this region a little bit, I can see what a tough region it is with a lot of schools that are just historically great football teams. So it is a tough region for the Warriors, and hopefully they will be able to move up a little bit and secure that fourth spot for the playoffs, and we're looking forward to hearing more about their games as we go on throughout the season. Now, we are already in week 9 of high school football, which is crazy to believe how fast time has just been going on. And like I said, we are in region play 100%. All of these teams that we're about to go over are competing in their region. So as we go along, we'll also be talking about their region standings and who else is in the region. But you just heard it here. Region 7 4A is where the Warriors compete, and they are going to be looking to try to move up in the rankings a little bit before we get into playoff season. So with that being said, we're going to wrap it up with the Warriors, and we'll move on along into Dawson County, where the Dawson County Tigers took on the Greater Atlanta Christian Spartans. Now, this was a great game because it was between two teams that are historically at the top of their region, and as our sideline reporter Noah Rubin wrote, this game usually determines who is going to go on to win the region. And this year, the Spartans came out on top 20-7 against the Tigers. Now, Greater Atlanta Christian scored first on a 9-yard touchdown run during their first possession, but the Tigers fought back. Dakota Sonicson caught a slant pass to run 75 yards, a big gain there for a touchdown. The Spartans answered with a drive capped off with a 3-yard run for a touchdown with just a few minutes left in the first quarter. And the Tigers hoped to tie the game during the next drive, but unfortunately it resulted in an interception. Greater Atlanta Christian extended their lead during their next possession with a 16-yard touchdown pass. And Riley Herndon worked to get some momentum back for the Tigers by blocking the Spartans' point attempt and holding them to a 20-7 lead. Now, the defensive strength that the two teams showed as they held each other to punts the next couple of possessions, and the score was still 20-7 going into the half. So this was a game even up to this point in the half where it was back and forth, each team either holding the other or scoring to answer the other's score. Now, coming out of the half, the Tigers fought to score some more points, but neither team scored for the remainder of the game. The Tigers played great defense to prevent the Spartans from scoring again, so each team held the other. DJ Mitchell, speaking of playing some great defense, got a big sack on third down for a loss of yardage and forced the Spartans to punt. So even though the Tigers were not able to score against the Spartans anymore, they were still out there playing some hard defense and holding them from scoring anymore. Now, we do need to report that quarterback Zacchaeus Holtzclaw for the Tigers was injured during this game, And we hope to bring you more reports on that during this week or this Friday night on how he is doing. But we do want to wish him a speedy recovery, especially at this point in the season where it is region play. And this was a tough game, and the Tigers are going to be continuing to play in this tough region. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get down to the Fannin County Rebels. Because what I like to do here on the show is when we get to the last team that we cover here at Team FYN Sports that is in that region, kind of give a recap of that region. So we'll talk about this region, which is Region 7, Class 3A. We'll talk about it in just a minute when we get down to the Fannin County Rebels. The final score of this game between the Tigers and the Spartans was 20-7. As I said, this was a great game between two amazing teams. Now, earlier in the summer, Brian and I went and interviewed head coach of the Dawson County Tigers, Sid Maxwell, who told us that this team was a younger team, or is a younger team, since they graduated a bunch of seniors last season. But we can see throughout watching the Tigers through this season how they have progressed and gotten better with each game. And this is just an example of that, how the Tigers played great offense, but also played some even better defense, where they were able to hold this great team that is the Greater Atlanta Christian Spartans. And these are two teams, like I said, that are usually at the very top of their region and compete to see who is going to win that region. So this game, the Spartans did come out on top, but there's still some region game left to be played for the Tigers, and undoubtedly they're looking to secure another playoff game for this 2019 season. Now, before we leave off of the Tigers, I do want to mention our player of the week for them, which was Riley Herndon, and to directly quote Noah's article from this weekend, in Friday night's game, Herndon appeared to be everywhere defensively for the Tigers. Early in the second quarter, he blocked an extra point attempt. He had a long reception and converted a fourth down fake punt on the same drive. He also increased his region-leading interception total to 7 with a pick in the fourth quarter. So a bunch of great things within that quote. Couple of awesome things that Riley did within this game, but also this awesome stat here. He increased his region-leading interception total to 7 with a pick in the fourth quarter. So congratulations to Riley for being named this week's Team FYN Sports Writers Player of the Week. And if I'm not mistaken, this may be his second week he has been named into this role. So he is playing a great season, and we want to wish him a congratulations as well. Now, as I said, we will talk more about the region that the Tigers are in, which is Region 7, Class 3A, when we get down to the Fannin County Rebels, who are also in this region. But looking ahead, the Tigers are going into a bye week, and then they will host the Fannin Rebels on the 25th. So the Tigers will have some time to rest and recuperate from this game before they face another big opponent in the Fannin Rebels. Now, I said, once again, I said that we're going to wait to talk about the region a little bit once we get down a little bit further into the lineup. But I will go ahead and say that the Fannin Rebels, the Dawson Tigers, and the Greater Atlanta Christian Spartans are all within the top 3 spots in their region. So the Tigers are going to have back-to-back top-tier region games here within just a few weeks. So undoubtedly, they're going to be using this bye week to recuperate and to prepare for this upcoming game against the Fannin Rebels next weekend. So good luck to the Tigers as they continue their season. And I want to give a shout out to Noah Rubin, because he does an awesome job recapping these games for us over there in Dawson County. And Carson Finley does the same over in White County. All of our sideline reporters do an awesome job, and I just want to give each of them a shout out as we go along in the lineup. And now also, I want to mention that before we wrap up here with Lumpkin County, the Tigers are, like I said, recuperating from this game against the Greater Atlanta Christian Spartans and are continuing to progress with each game as they get better. And we'll go ahead and wrap that up with them and move on over into Dahlonega, into the Lumpkin County Indians, where they hosted Cherokee Bluff Bears on Friday night and unfortunately fell by a final score of 45-14. But the Indians were able to score 2 touchdowns on the Bears, and we still have some great highlights that we want to point out for them from this game on Friday night. The Indians' defense did hold the Bears to a field goal during Cherokee Bluff's first possession. Lumpkin County had a turnover that led into a touchdown for Cherokee Bluff, but the gap in scores didn't last long. And now fans got to see more passing game that we've been talking about throughout the season. We know that historically the Indians are more about a running game, but this season with new head coach Caleb Soros, we've been hearing reports that they were going to be upping their passing game. And Indians fans got to see a little bit more of that on Friday night through quarterback Tucker Kirk. He went 8 for 11 with numerous passes for first downs, and the first touchdown of the night for the Indians was an 18-yard pass from Kirk to Brian Cunane. And Kirk also rushed for 64 yards on Friday night, so he showed off his skills both in the air and on the ground. And the Indians were able to shorten the lead that the Bears had from 10-0 to 10-7 with that completed touchdown pass. On defense, Tanner Barber and Ethan Klein had a great game with stops, which was 3 solo tackles, and then Tate Reinhardt, Ryan Burkhart, and Aaron Hopkins followed closely behind with 2 solo tackles each. So there were still some great defensive moments for the Indians here within this game. At the half, Cherokee Bluff led 31-7, and although they would score twice more in the second half, Lumpkin got the last word for their homecoming night. The Indians spent their last possession driving down the field and running out the clock. Kirk completed a 13-yard pass to Burkhart for a first down, and with just a few minutes left in the game, Bojack Dowdy punched it in for an 8-yard touchdown, and Dowdy accounted for 87 yards over 18 carries throughout the night, so he was leading in rushing yards for the Indians. Now, like I said, unfortunately the Indians fell within this game, but they still had some great moments both on offense and defense, so we're seeing improvement there with them, and I want to say, great job here with great effort, and undoubtedly we're going to be seeing more of that effort as we go on into region play. And the Lumpkin County Indians are going to be heading down to Norcross to face Greater Atlanta Christian on Friday night. So this is going to be a tough game for them, but we're looking forward here at Team F-Line Sports. I'm going to be traveling down with them to Norcross to watch them as they take on the Greater Atlanta Christian Spartans. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they continue to take this improvement and push it on through into this region game against GAC. Now, before we leave the Indians, I want to give a shout out to the player of the week that I named this week, which was quarterback Tucker Kirk. As you heard during this game recap, he had great performance with completed passes and carries throughout the night. So he deserved this nomination for the Team F-Line Sports Writers Player of the Week for the Lumpkin County Indians. And that is going to wrap it up with our Indians recap. And also, I want to say that I'm just reading some game highlights from this game. To read our full game article recaps, go onto our website, which is fetchernews.com. You can scroll across the top. We have all the counties listed that we cover. You can click on Lumpkin County, Dawson County, White County, or whichever county that you are rooting for this season. And if you click on Team F-Line Sports from there, you can see all of the game recap articles as well as Player of the Week articles. And you can share them on Facebook and give us a shout out there as well. Now we are going to go ahead and take a break for our first segment of this show. When we come back, we'll be continuing our highlights from the games on Friday night. We'll kick it off with the Gilmer Bobcats, who got a region win on Friday night. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here for this week's episode of Instant Replay. I'm your host, Lauren Hunter.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on-site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and Ellijay, Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN10 for your special deal today at Circuit World.
Hi everyone, Dave Garner here. You might know me as a regular contributor to Team FYN Sports and the Instant Replay, but did you know I'm also your local Woodman Life representative? My job is to make sure that families are protected through needs-based life insurance and retirement. I want to make sure that you leave your loved ones with memories, not expenses. Call me today to find out how I can help you to not outlive your money and that your money outlives you. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations.
October is Truck Month at Day Chevrolet in Jasper, with the year's biggest savings on every 2019 Chevy truck and SUV in Day's massive inventory, like over $11,000 off Silverado crew cabs, or more than $8,000 off new Chevy Colorados. So don't just sit there. Go save a payload during Truck Month, happening now at Day Chevrolet in Jasper, where new Chevy trucks always cost less.
Better days ahead, Day Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
Welcome back, everyone, to this week's episode of Instant Replay. Thank you for joining us here this morning as we are highlighting and promoting young athletes in a positive way, going over some of these great positive athletes that have been playing hard throughout the football season and going on through region play. Each of the teams that we cover here in Team FYN Sports area is continuing to prove with each game. And it's a great time here. I'm so excited to be in here this morning. I know I may not seem like it because it's early and I'm really, to be honest, not a morning person. But I love my job and I love being in here every Monday morning and going over these positive highlights that each of these teams are putting out on the field every Friday night. So speaking of which, on Friday nights, we're always great here at Team FYN Sports about keeping you updated on what's going on the field. So in case you aren't able to make it to the game, you can check us out on social media and see what the score updates are and also see some highlights from the game or coaches' interviews after the game. And in order to find that, you can either go here to the Team FYN Sports Facebook page, where if you are watching this show live, you are actually already currently on. If you give us a like, you will see notifications from us throughout the game and also throughout the week as we are keeping up with volleyball and softball. And we're going to go through their highlights here in just a little bit later in the show. But they are getting into playoffs already, which is hard to believe that their season is already almost over. But these ladies have been working hard throughout the season, and we have been doing our best to go out and give them some coverage. So definitely follow us on Facebook for more updates about softball, volleyball, football, and just anything else that we can get out and cover. And then also on Instagram and Twitter, we provide as many score updates as we can, especially on Twitter. We do our best to tweet whenever there is a score or during the end of the first quarter, third quarter. We try to keep in touch throughout the game. You can follow us there at Team FYN Sports on both of these handles. And then also, if you go to our YouTube channel, it is FYN TV, Fetch Your News. You can watch this show on demand whenever you would like. We always upload it afterwards. And then you can also catch some of the coaches' interviews that we have. We post them on social media, but we also upload them to YouTube so you can go on there and watch it and share it with your family and friends. Now, also, I always like to say that if you have a favorite team or an athlete that you want to give a shout out to, you can shoot us an email right there at the email address. It is teamfynsports@fetchyournews.com. Or you can even give us a ring there, right there at the bottom of the screen. You can see that number as well if you prefer to give us a call. Now, we're going to go ahead and continue on into these positive football highlights that I've been talking about. We're going to kick it off with the Gilmer Bobcats, who got another win and their first region win of the season, which was over the Southeast Whitfield Raiders. So congratulations to the Bobcats on getting this region win. Their first region win of the season. They came out on top 17-14. Gilmer was able to hold back the Raiders for most of the game and scored first with a field goal by kicker Adolfo Bautista. Bautista would add 9 points to the Bobcats' overall score with 3 successful field goals throughout the night. So shout out to Bautista for an awesome game. The Raiders got a touchdown during the first half, but the Bobcats got within range for another successful field goal to shorten the Raiders' lead 7-6 before the half. Both teams ran into penalties during the game, which slowed them down, but we will see that Gilmer came back out of the first half ready to play, and Ashton White scored the lone touchdown for the Bobcats to push them ahead with a 17-14 win. So undoubtedly, this was a game where these two teams had to push through penalties, and the Bobcats were able to do so successfully and come out on top 17-14. So again, congratulations to the Bobcats for getting this win. We are very proud of you guys here at Team FYN Sports for continuing to play hard each weekend. Now, it is a recurring theme here at Team FYN Sports. I mentioned it before we went into the first break, but each of these teams is getting out every Friday night and improving and continuing to show us that they are not going to be counted out of the region standings. Each team is fighting for a spot to go on into playoffs, so the Gilmer Bobcats are no exception to that rule. They are continuing to get out there each Friday night and improve from each game. Now, speaking of improvement and giving shout-outs, Player of the Week this week for the Gilmer Bobcats was Ashton White, who had 20 carries for 79 yards and the only Gilmer Bobcats touchdown. Ashton led the Bobcats with most carries for this game, tied with Gray McClure for most rushing yards as well. So congratulations to Ashton for an awesome game and for getting that touchdown to push the Bobcats ahead 17-14. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we are officially in region play for these teams here at Team FYN Sports. And with that being said, we're going to be going through each of the region standings with our teams here. But we're going to hold off on doing so for the Bobcats once we get into Pickens, and we can go over the region standings for both of these teams at the same time because they are in the same region, which is Region 6 4A. Now, looking ahead, the Bobcats are going to be back home on Friday night hosting Heritage. The Bobcats were on the road this past weekend at Southeast Whitfield, and undoubtedly they are going to be excited to be back at home in LJ to host the Heritage Raiders at home. Now, also, every Monday night, we typically do our Gilmer Turf Talk show. We will not be having a show this Monday night, which is tonight. We will not be having a Gilmer Turf Talk show, but we will be back same time, same place next week with sideline reporter Richie Stone, who hosts this show, head coach of the Gilmer Bobcats, Kevin Saunders, and then also potentially some players and some assistant coaches. So they do a great job over there broadcasting from Circuit World of LJ, and we will be looking forward to having them back at the same time, same place next week, broadcasting live on Team FYN Sports Facebook page at 7 p.m., which is another reason to go and follow us there on the Facebook page, Team FYN Sports. Now, I mentioned that we were going to wait and hold off on going over some region standings once we got into Pickens. And Pickens is actually next on the lineup. But the Pickens Dragons had a tough week. They fell in a heartbreaker to the Heritage Raiders. So we hate to hear that over there in Ringgold. As RJ Casey himself wrote, he is our Pickens sideline reporter and our Pickens guru. This game has historically been back and forth, and this one was no different. Heritage was able to score during their first opening possession with a 40-yard touchdown pass, so a great way to lead off there for the Raiders. The Dragons answered immediately with a drive that ended with a 23-yard touchdown pass from quarterback C.J. Stryker to Alex Snellgrove. That is a dynamic duo there. Out of the first quarter, the two teams were tied at 7, so that definitely shows how these two teams were back and forth. They were playing great defense to be able to hold the other, but also great offense. The defensive strength of both teams, as I said, showed in the second quarter, with the Raiders scoring once more and taking the lead into the half, 14-7. The third quarter was similar to the second, a display of defensive strength. The Raiders did get one more touchdown to extend their lead 21-7, but the Dragons were not going down without a fight in true Pickens Dragons fashion. As RJ also wrote, Stryker got the comeback attempt going with a 1-yard touchdown run to start the fourth quarter. The majority of the fourth quarter was spent trading possessions, but Stryker connected with a pass to Jerry Whitmore with just over a minute left in the game. Unfortunately, this was where the Pickens Dragons fell short. The point attempt was no good, and the Raiders were able to hold their lead by 1 point, 21-20 for the remainder of the game. The Dragons did try their best to get something going with just 30 seconds left in the game, but unfortunately were unable to do so, and the Raiders left the game with a 1-point lead, 21-20. And it was a tough game for the Dragons this go around. But there were still some great moments, as you heard throughout this game recap. And as I said in our last segment, if you want to go and see the full game recap that RJ Casey sent in, you can go onto our website, which is fetchyournews.com. Click on Pickens, click on TeamFYNSports, and you can see RJ's articles there. He does an awesome job here with recapping the Pickens games, so definitely go and check those out. But it was a tough game here for the Dragons. But we do have one positive note, and that is our player of the week, which was Alex Snellgrove. You heard the game recap and how awesome he played. As I said, the C.J. Stryker, Alex Snellgrove connection is a dynamic duo, and one really worth taking note of if you are a team playing the Dragons. And Alex Snellgrove definitely deserves this award as TeamFYNSports Player of the Week for the Pickens Dragons. Now, region standings, RJ included them in his article, and I'm going to read them here for y'all as well. At the top of the region is Northwest Whitfield, followed by Heritage, followed by Pickens, Ridgeland, Gilmer, Lafayette, and then Southeast Whitfield County. Now, Pickens is still within that playoff standing, and the Gilmer Bobcats are one team away from being within that playoff standing. So these are two teams that are going to be fighting to remain within the top and then also get within the top. So great things to come here within this region. And looking ahead, the Pickens Dragons will be hosting the top-ranked team in the region, which is Northwest Whitfield, on Friday night. So this is going to be a great game. Undoubtedly, the Pickens Dragons are going to be hungry for a win on Friday night. So this will be a great game, and RJ will be there on the sideline to provide us with that game recap. Now, speaking of RJ, he will be popping in on Tuesday night for another episode of Pickens Power Half Hour Dragon Talk. Our host, Dave Garner, will be back to go through that game recap and to host the show, which will also feature head coach Jeff Nelson for the Pickens Dragons, and then there will be an assistant coach there as well, and also 4 players from the Pickens Dragons football team. Now, I get tickled thinking about last week. They came in there and they had suits on. They were really dressed up, the players were, and I never really quite caught what the reason was for that. But, you know, maybe they'll do that again this week. Maybe they just feel like dressing up. I don't know. But anyway, we'll see if they'll back at it again this coming week. But we'll be broadcasting that live on FYNTV.com. We do not broadcast that on our Facebook page. We do it on FYNTV.com. So definitely tune in for that, and then we'll post it, upload it to YouTube afterwards, and share it on our Facebook page. So be on the lookout for that Pickens Power Half Hour Dragon Talk. Now, Destiny, I'm going to go ahead and say let's go into our next break. And when we come back, we'll be wrapping it up with our high school football recaps. And then we'll be going on into softball and volleyball that are getting ready to go into playoffs and continue their season. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on Instant Replay.
At Ingalls, we have a very special family. A family of farmers, ranchers, and dairymen. Clerks, butchers, and bakers. Deli workers, pharmacists, and florists. We work hard every day to bring you the very best. And we'll continue to wake up every morning and work as hard as you do. This is our town, and we built this community together. Ingalls, your neighbor for over 50 years.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
I'm Jeff Riblett, President of Asset Protection Group. As a certified financial planner and with 20 years experience, I've helped thousands of families and business owners create a tremendous amount of wealth. Fortunately, most of that wealth has been protected. Don't allow an unforeseen life event, such as a nursing home stay or the next market meltdown, destroy your family's wealth. Be smart. Call me. Let's determine how best to protect your assets and preserve your wealth.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment, All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and Ellijay, Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN10 for your special deal today at Circuit World.
Hi everyone, Dave Garner here. You might know me as a regular contributor to Team FYN Sports and the Instant Replay, but did you know I'm also your local Woodman Life representative? My job is to make sure that families are protected through needs-based life insurance and retirement. I want to make sure that you leave your loved ones with memories, not expenses. Call me today to find out how I can help you to not outlive your money and that your money outlives you. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations.
Better days ahead.
October is Truck Month at Days Chevrolet in Jasper, with the year's biggest savings on every 2019 Chevy truck and SUV in Days' massive inventory, like over $11,000 off Silverado crew cabs, or more than $8,000 off new Chevy Colorados. So don't just sit there. Go save a payload during Truck Month, happening now at Days Chevrolet in Jasper, where new Chevy trucks always cost less.
Better days ahead. Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
Family. A family of farmers, ranchers, and dairymen. Clerks, butchers, and bakers. Deli workers, pharmacists, and florists. We work hard every day to bring you the very best. And we'll continue to wake up every morning and work as hard as you do. This is our town, and we built this community together. Ingalls, your neighbor for over 50 years.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for sticking around here with us on this week's episode of Instant Replay. I'm your host, Lauren Hunter, having a great time here as we are recapping high school football games from Friday night, and all our teams in Team FYN Sports Country are officially playing in region play. Actually, they have been for a couple weeks now. We are in week 9 of high school football, which is amazing to me that we're already so close to the end of the regular season. But with that being said, we're going to continue our recaps, starting off with the Fannin Rebels, who triumphed over East Hall in a region game on Friday night. 49-26 was the final score. Now, the Rebels scored early into the game with a touchdown run by Traylon Owensby. Reagan Young, who was our sideline reporter for the Fannin Rebels, also gave a shout out to Micah O'Neill and Carson Beavers for their great defense and coverage of the Vikings offense during the first part of the game. The Rebels held the Vikings from scoring 80 points, and then quarterback Luke Holloway completed a touchdown pass to Kahutta Hyde. The Rebel defense forced a fumble, which Jacob Tuggle recovered, but the Vikings recovered shortly after when Fannin fumbled the ball and returned possession to East Hall. The Vikings were able to score after the recovered fumble, but the Rebels still led 14-6 at this point in the game. Andre Bivens got a great first down during the Rebels' next possession, which led into another touchdown run by Owensby. Sarah Sosby got the point attempt to give Fannin a 28-6 lead, and then the Vikings did score once more to make the score 28-14 at the half. The Rebels defense really came out in full force during the second half. Jalen Ingram and Jackson Weeks had great stops, and Dalton Ross recovered a Viking fumble. Fannin took advantage of the turnover this time, and Owensby scored on another touchdown run to extend the Rebel lead 35-14. The Rebels scored twice more throughout the game, with a completed pass from Holloway to Jalen Ingram and a quarterback sneak from Holloway. So that made the final score 49-26 after the Vikings did score twice more as well in the end of the game. Now, this is a game that was played between two teams that are really good in their region. If you watched last week's episode of Rebel Wrap Up that we host every Wednesday night at Circuit World of Blue Ridge, and we'll be doing the same thing this Wednesday night at 7 p.m., Coach Chad Cheatham was talking about how really the Rebels were just going to be focused on trying to keep up with the East Hall Vikings. Despite their record, he said that it was really misleading because the Vikings can play extremely well. They have a fast-paced game. They play with intensity the entire time, but the Rebels were able to keep up with them and get ahead for this game. And the Rebels have now extended their overall region, or their overall their overall record to 6-1 and their region record to 2-1. So congratulations to them for getting this game in the books. Now, also congratulations to the Player of the Week for the Rebels, which was Traylon Owensby with 3 touchdowns and a great game on offense. Now, in the region standings for the Fannin Rebels that are in Region 7, 3A, we have Fannin County and Greater Atlanta Christian, Dawson County, North Hall, Cherokee Bluff, Lumpkin County, and East Hall. So you hear the 3 teams that we have there that we cover within Team FYN Sports. Fannin County and Dawson County are sitting at the top. As I said earlier in the show, these are 3 teams that consistently battle it out for one of the top spots in the region, and they will be continuing to do so as the Fannin County Rebels are back in action in Blue Ridge on Friday night to host the North Hall Trojans. So this will also be a great game between 2 teams that are consistently well and play well in their region. So we'll be looking forward to a game recap from that as well from our sideline reporter, Reagan Young. And we wish all the best of luck to our Rebels over in Blue Ridge on Friday night. Now, Rebel Wrap Up, I said, will be at the same time, same place this Wednesday. It'll be at Circuit World of Blue Ridge, which is where we typically host it. We will have, as I like to say, the usual suspects, head coach Chad Cheatham, as well as one of the assistant coaches, and about 4 players from the team. And we'll be talking about last week's game and then looking forward to their game against North Hall on Friday night. So that's going to wrap it up for the Rebels, which is fun to say because our show is called Rebel Wrap Up. But we're going to move on over into Blairsville before we run out of time here on this episode of Instant Replay. We've gotten a little short today. But the Panthers were in a bye week this past week, so they had some time to recuperate. They are in Region 8 2A, which consists of Rabun County, Union, Elbert County, Banks County, Oglethorpe County, Putnam County, Monticello, and Social Circle. The Panthers are going to be facing off against Banks County on Friday night at Banks County, and that will be another region game played between two teams that are in the top 4 and looking to stay in those playoff standings. And the Union County Panthers are going to be looking to get a playoff game this season, so we wish them all the best of luck as they travel to Banks County to continue their trend. They are 6-0 overall this season and 3-0 in the region, so we are wishing them the best of luck as they continue their season. Now, Panther Playback, I want to say, will not be running tonight. We are going to be taking a break from that. They had a bye week this past week, but we will be back in action with that next week at the same time, 6:30 on TeamFYNSports Facebook page, broadcasting live from Circuit World of Blairsville. Now, as a matter of fact, we're going to wrap it up with our Georgia high school football highlights, and we're going to move on into our North Carolina highlights. And we have the Murphy Bulldogs and the Andrews Wildcats that we give a shout out to here on this episode of Instant Replay and each episode of Instant Replay as well. The Murphy Bulldogs won over the Hayesville Yellow Jackets 62-14, and they will be at Swain County on Friday night. And they are in the top 3 of their region, so this is going to be a great game as well. And then the Andrews Wildcats they won 35-24 over Cherokee, and they will be facing Hayesville Friday night at Hayesville. So these are 2 great teams here within the Smoky Mountain Conference. And I also want to say we have a great time every Thursday night doing the Smoky Mountain Conference Report. J.R. Carroll and Scott Fletcher host this show, and I go up and I open it with them, and we go over their picks for the week. And we have a great time on this show, and it is broadcast live on TeamFYNSports Facebook page every Thursday night beginning at 8 p.m. We had a slight delay last week, so I want to say thank you to all of those that tuned in despite the delay, but we will definitely be back at it at the same time as usual, 8 p.m. this Thursday night. And with that being said, that is going to wrap up our high school football highlights. And when we come back, we're going to go ahead and take our last break. When we come back, we'll be recapping softball from this week, going over their playoffs. The softball in the area is officially underway, and their playoffs. We'll be going over the teams and TeamFYNSports coverage that are within the playoff rounds, and then we will wrap it up with some volleyball. So stay here with us on this episode of Instant Replay. I'm your host, Lauren Hunter.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair, and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on-site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and Ellijay, Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN10 for your special deal today at Circuit World.
Hi everyone, Dave Garner here. You might know me as a regular contributor to Team FYNSports and the Instant Replay, but did you know I'm also your local Woodman Life representative? My job is to make sure that families are protected through needs-based life insurance and retirement. I want to make sure that you leave your loved ones with memories, not expenses. Call me today to find out how I can help you to not outlive your money and that your money outlives you. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations.
Better days ahead.
October is Truck Month at Days Chevrolet in Jasper, with the year's biggest savings on every 2019 Chevy truck and SUV in Days' massive inventory, like over $11,000 off Silverado crew cabs, or more than $8,000 off new Chevy Colorados. So don't just sit there. Go save a payload during Truck Month, happening now at Days Chevrolet in Jasper, where new Chevy trucks always cost less.
Better days ahead. Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
All right, we're back, everyone, here to wrap it up for the final segment of Instant Replay for this week's episode. I'm your host, Lauren Hunter, and before we go any further, I'll go ahead and recap our social media outlets that you can follow us on for weekly and daily updates on all of our high school sports that we cover here at Team FYNSports. We have Facebook, which is at Team FYNSports, and we are currently broadcasting this show live. And then we also have Twitter and Instagram at Team FYNSports. We post daily updates on each of these outlets, so make sure to give us a follow so you can see everything that we're doing here. Also on YouTube, we have FYN TV, Fetch Your News, where we upload this show and all of our weekly sports shows as well once we finish broadcasting them live. And then we also have an email address that if you want to send a shout out to your favorite team or maybe a favorite athlete, you can send us an email there. It is teamfynsports@fetchyournews.com. And then we also have a cell phone number that you can give us a ring at if you prefer to do it that way. And you can see that number there at the bottom of the screen. So several ways to get in touch with us, several ways to connect with us. We look forward to seeing you follow us here, and we look forward to providing you with more positive highlights and updates of our teams here at Team FYNSports. Now, speaking of teams, we're going to finish off the show with a recap of what softball and volleyball have been up to this week. Now, we know that softball is certainly out of their regular season. They are heading on into playoffs. And then also, volleyball is for the most part out of their regular season. Now, we are not 100% sure on most of our updates for volleyball, so please bear with us as we go through the updates that we do have, and we work to provide you with stories and more updates throughout the week. But to start off with softball, the Gilmer Bobcats fell in both games in the first round of the state playoffs to Madison County this week. So that we hate to hear that, but we do want to congratulate these ladies on a great season, going to the first round of state playoffs. That is awesome. It is a great accomplishment. They have nothing to be ashamed of. And we want to give them a shout out here on this show as well. Now, also over in Lumpkin County, the Lady Indians went to the first round of state playoffs and have advanced past the first round of state playoffs. They won best 2 out of 3 over Westminster. They played the first 2 games on Wednesday and then played the final one on Thursday and were able to edge out over Westminster and advance to the second round of state playoffs. And they will be playing Crisp County and be heading to Crisp County on Wednesday for the second round of softball state playoffs in Class 3A. So we want to give a shout out to these ladies, say congratulations on winning the first round of state playoffs and wish them the best of luck as they go over to Crisp County and continue in the second round of state playoffs. And now this is a personal shout out for me because I have been following and covering these ladies for most of their season, and they have been playing so hard, working so hard, have played great effort as a team and as individuals. And so I definitely want to give them a shout out and say congratulations, Lady Indians, for such a great season. And we hope to see you continue to play throughout the region and in state playoffs. Now also, Union County, the Panthers swept Thorell on Tuesday in the first round of state playoffs, and they are advancing to the second round. They will be heading down to Vidalia tomorrow for the second round of state playoffs. Now we know these South Georgia teams are tough to beat, so we definitely want to say congratulations first and foremost to the Panthers on sweeping Thorell, but also wish them the best of luck as they compete against the ladies of the Crisp County softball team on Tuesday for a chance at the next round of state playoffs. Now, also, that is going to wrap it up for softball. These are the 3 teams that we had in the first round of state playoffs, and we are down to 2 for the second round. We're going to do our best to provide you with updates throughout the week on these teams and on their games and how they're doing in state playoffs. But also follow us on social media for those, but also tune in next week to Instant Replay, as we will definitely have an update for you at that time. But that is going to wrap it up with softball, and we will finish up this episode of Instant Replay with some updates on volleyball. White County, the Warriors split their win. They went 2-1 this past week. They won against Denmark and West Hall, but unfortunately fell to Marist. Now, we are unsure of how they're doing as far as state playoffs, but I do know via the GHSA website that final reports have to be in today for who is at the top of their region and who will be advancing, or their area, excuse me. Who is at the top of their area for volleyball in each area, and we will be able to provide you with updates on who is going to stay and how they did after today. Dawson County fell to Jefferson and Gainesville this week. Lumpkin County, they are waiting to face Calhoun for the first round of state playoffs. Now, we do know for certain, per their athletic director, that Lumpkin County has qualified for the first round of state playoffs, and they are waiting to face Calhoun for this first round. Gilmer lost to Lafayette. Pickens lost to Adairsville. We do not have an update this time for the ladies of the Fannin volleyball team. So if you're watching this show and you have an update for them, be sure to send us some updates on that so we'll be able to share them as well. And then Union County split their record this week 1-1 with a win over Oglethorpe, but fell to their rival in the region, Rabun County. The Rabun County-Union County rivalry is strong because it is a big region rivalry. These are 2 teams that are typically at the top of their region for all the sports. So definitely, if the Union County Panthers get a chance to face Rabun County, again, it's going to be a great game. So that is all the updates that we have for you with volleyball this week. And as I said, we'll be working to provide you with more updates as we go on throughout the week. So definitely follow us on social media. And then again on the show next Monday, where we'll be back at 10:10 a.m. to provide you with more updates on that. We'll wrap it up, I guess, because we have a little bit of time. We got to talk about it. The college football rankings. Georgia fell down to number 10 after their loss to South Carolina on Saturday. LSU has moved up to a top spot. I believe it is number 2 that LSU is at after this week, after they won over the Florida Gators. And the Florida Gators have managed to edge up past Georgia to number 9 in the rankings. So, deep breath, Georgia fans. Deep breath. That's all I can say. But anyway, hate to end it off with kind of that negative note, but it is what it is here on this beautiful Monday morning. Hey, at least the weather is beautiful and it is officially fall. The weather is telling us that it is fall as well. Finally, so definitely follow us on Team FYN Sports social media for more updates on all your favorite sports teams, high school sports teams, as we go throughout the week and as we are winding down on many of the regular seasons for our fall sports. So with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful Monday and an even better week. Join us next week here on Team FYN Sports Facebook page for another episode of Instant Replay. Until then, I am Lauren Hunter, Team FYN Sports Director, signing out for another great week. Have a good one, everyone.